चलो गाइस, वेलकम। वापस आ चुके हैं वही स्ट्रीम पर में। थोड़ा सरकारी काम आ चुका था। चलो स्ट्रीम चालू हो गई। थोड़ा बैकग्राउंड नॉइस आता है। Introduction: how to use the worst gun in CS2, not the worst actually. वन सेकेंड, मैं कंटिन्यू करता हूँ। थोड़ा काम आ गया था, वोटर आईडी वगैरह का, तो कर आए, जरूरी काम था वो भी। सब्सक्रिप्शंस, अपना खुद का चैनल खुद से देखना है। लेट्स गो। सब्सक्रिप्शंस, अपना खुद का चैनल खुद से देखना है। ओके, शेयर माय चैनल, कॉपी लिंक मैं डाल देता हूँ। सिर्फ अपलोड होगा शायद फिर। रेसिपी देनी है, बस 10 मिनट अपन स्टार्ट करते हैं। रेसिपी भेज दूँ उसको मैं। वन सेकेंड, कैमरा। वेलकम बैक टू द चैनल। मैं आ चुका हूँ, वाटर बॉटल फिल करने गया था। तो अपन फुल स्टैक वेब डेवलपमेंट कर रहे थे ना। अपन इसको पहली बार तो क्या गलती कर दी मैंने, इसको करना है क्रोम पे करना है। पहले भी क्रोम पर खोले थे, कंट्रोल एच, फिर कंट्रोल वी। ओके हाँ,
Perplexity and
टाइम फ्रेम आ गया
NVIDIA
था
prompting AI
15-16
10
मिनट के।
times faster. You're prompting Cursor over 100 times a day, but typing detailed context takes forever. So you send lazy prompts and you get mediocre results. I've been there and it's not fun. Let me show you how I changed my entire dev workflow. I use Whisperflow to dictate full prompts with complete context. I describe what I need in plain English and Flow formats it with proper casing, file paths, and function names. Everything I know you hate typing. Instead of typing out file names, I can just reference them
for each module of this career path. So you can always go there if you get stuck and you need a bit of help, or if you want to pay it forward and help out some other students. Now, if we go right back up to the top, we have events, and this will show you up and coming events for the Scrimba community. Every Tuesday, we host the Scrimba Town Hall on Discord. And if you click into events, you'll see that the next town hall is already scheduled and it will show you the time in your local time zone. So for me here in the UK, it's at 5 p.m. on Tuesdays. The town hall is a live event, especially for the Scrimba community, with 45 minutes to an hour of chat on all things Scrimba, learning to code, and getting jobs in tech. Each week is a bit different. Sometimes we interview students who recently got hired to hear about the process, for example, or we review some code or give feedback on a CV, but we always have time to answer your questions. So do come along and join us. It's an interactive experience. You can chat with us and it would be great to see you there. It's a great chance for you to interact with the Scrimba team and have your say. You'll find the Town Hall channel right here in the sidebar. Also, check out the Scrimba podcast. There is a new episode every week and it's packed with motivational advice and job hunting strategies from developers who've been exactly where you are now.
Okay.
You can click this slide or find it wherever you usually get your podcasts. I'm going to leave you with these two links. We've got the Scrimba podcast and our Discord server. Once you check them out, come back here and you're ready to get started coding your very first web app.
Buttons,
Now
चलो
you're going to
buttons
learn
section
about
पे
your
आ गए।
very first interactive HTML element, and that is the button tag, because buttons are all over the web. So to create a button, simply start with your angle bracket and a button opening tag, and then a button closing tag, like that. And in between the two tags, you write whatever text you want inside of your button. Now, as you can see, it's styled with a background color that also has a border around it. And you can even click it. Now, this button doesn't do anything. In order to hook this up with some kind of feature, for example, trigger a purchase, then you'd have to learn JavaScript. And that is outside the scope of this course, but something you'll learn later in the front-end developer career path. So for now, our button will just be there and pretend to do something while actually being pretty useless. Now that you've seen this once, I want to put you on the spot and give you a challenge. I want you to create a layout according to the design in this slide. So imagine that you are building a website where people are to sign up. Then it would be very natural to have something like this, where you have an H1 at the top welcoming them, a paragraph with a little message, and then a sign up button. So I want you to create this layout. You don't have to write the text because I've provided it here. Just make sure that you set up the HTML tags correctly so that it renders properly on the page. Good luck.
डिजाइन बताओ जो है अभी। ओके, ये बनाना अपन को। एक्सरसाइज 3 मॉड्यूल 3 एक्सरसाइज 3 बना लेते हैं .html। गलती कर ली चुनूँ खा के मैंने। इधर लाइब्रेरी रन कर लो। Sorry. Bring grant message to the platform. To the one. प्लीज क्रिएट, ओके इसको पैरा भी करना है, कर देंगे पैराग्राफ, कर देंगे लाइन नीचे करने के लिए प्लीज करना पड़ेगा, प्लीज क्रिएट एन अकाउंट एंड और नीचे पैर का बटन बना लिया यार, मेरे हाथ दुख रहा है, टाइपिंग सही से हो नहीं रही है, गाड़ी चला के आया ना। साइन अप, चलिए बन गया, इसको कर देते हैं थोड़ा एक्स्ट्रा,
Something like this. We have an H1 at the top welcoming them, a paragraph with a little message, and then a sign up button. So I want you to create this layout. You don't have to write the text because I've provided it here. Just make sure that you set up the HTML tags correctly so that it renders properly on the page. Good luck. Okay, hopefully that went well. Let's now do it together. I'll start with the welcome H1 tag, like that. Paste that in, and boom, there we go. Next up, there's the paragraph, opening tag, closing tag, and then pasting the text in between. Running this code, it still looks correct. Finally, the button, like that, with sign up written inside of it. And boom, there we go. We have our completely useless sign up form that doesn't do anything. But in the next scrim, we're going to add on to this. So stay tuned, and then I'll see you there. The sign-up section we have here is actually pretty useless because there's no way for our users to add, for example, their username or a password. So in this scrim, we're going to fix that, which leads us to the input tag. The
with motivational advice and job hunting strategies.
Leads us to the input tag. The
with motivational advice and job hunting strategies.
Leads us to the input tag.
क्या हुआ, क्या हुआ, स्ट्रीम तो बढ़िया चल रही है मेरी, अनबैन करके इसको हटा देंगे, यूट्यूब खोलते हैं अपने दूसरे चैनल से। CD 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 यार इसमें नॉइस सप्रेशन करनी चल रहा है। CD इनपुट कैप्चर में जाते हैं फिल्टर, यार इसमें नॉइस सप्रेशन करनी चल रहा है। CD इनपुट कैप्चर में जाते हैं फिल्टर, यार इसमें नॉइस सप्रेशन करनी चल, कोई बात नहीं।
Input tag is, just like images, a self-closing tag. So we only write the opening tag and not the closing tag, like we do with buttons, for example. However, we have to specify what kind of type our input should be. So it has this type attribute, just as the image has a source attribute. And the value of the type can be a range of different options, but we're going to start off with the most common one, and that is text. If we run this, you can see we get this nice little text box in the browser. Type attribute, just as the image has a source attribute. And the value of the type can be a range of different options, but we're going to start off with the most common one, and that is text. If we run this, you can see we get this nice little text box in the browser. Another handy attribute is the placeholder. That's where we can give the user a hint about what kind of data we're asking for. So for example, enter username, like that. If we run this, you can see it says enter username. Okay, let's do a mini challenge. We of course want them to enter their password as well. So I want you to create a new input field on line 4, which is identical to the one on line 3, though it should say enter password in the placeholder as opposed to enter.
Input equals to text placeholder equals to enter your कैसे था चलो input text placeholder equals to enter password.
Username. And don't just copy this line and change this word. I want you to get some muscle memory here. So go ahead and do that right now.
ठीक है मसल मेमोरी में फिर से करो.
Okay, hopefully you did like this. Input, type equals text, placeholder, enter password, like that. And there we go. Now you can enter a username and a password. However, in the real world, passwords are never exposed like that. The characters are always masked. And the way we achieve that is simply by changing the type from text to password, like that. If we run the code now, you can see the username is shown, but the password is masked. Really nice. And speaking of this type attribute here, it can take a range of different values, which turn into really interesting interactive elements on the page. For example, you can do type equals date. Let's say you want the user to add their birth date during sign up, and then you get this nice little date picker. Or you can do type equals time. For example, if you want the user to be able
सब ट्राई कर लेते ना. प्लेसहोल्डर सब ट्राई कर लेते हैं. मुझे तो प्लेसहोल्डर नहीं लगता. सॉरी. कुछ टाइप इक्वल्स टू टाइम ना. डेट टाइम के बाद क्या होता है का एक रेडियो बटन होती है कि रेडियो प्लेस होल्डर इक्वल्स टू हेलो. मैं ट्रोल करता रहा. उसको हटा दो. व्यूअर आता जाता रहते हो तो मैं ना सारे Son. ब्लैक लाइंस क्यों आती है? इसका कोई जुगाड़ है कि नहीं? अच्छा मैं बैठा हूँ तो बढ़िया चलता है ना? हाँ अभी तो वो नहीं आ रहा है. What's the problem?
able to configure when they should get some kind of notification. That gives the user a nice time picker. Or let's say you want to give the user a way to configure the theme of their profile with colors. Then you can do type equals color, and then you get this powerful color picker where the user can add basically any color there is through moving around on these dots. So the input tag is a really versatile tool in your toolbox. Okay, let's move on to the main challenge, because I want our users to have profile pictures, which means that you need to add an HTML input field that lets them upload image files. And I'm not going to tell you what kind of type that input field has. I'm just going to show you how it looks, which is like this. You've probably seen it online before. It's basically a button, and when you click it, it lets you choose an image from your local file system. And the reason I want you to figure out what the type attributes should be here is because being good at Googling is actually a huge part of being a good programmer. And the two are actually not that easy to separate from each other. So this gives you a way to practice those Googling skills. And I'm going to give you a hint that the keywords you should use are found in this last sentence.
Okay. Input type is equals to image. Hello. Placeholder is equals to upload. Chacha. Nice. Okay. URL line. ओके गूगल करने को बोला तो गूगल ही करते हैं ना. चलो देखो कि मैं फर्स्ट टाइम ये देख रहा हूँ. to upload an image. फाइल. ओके नया चीज सीखने को मिला. अच्छा बढ़िया सिखा रहे हैं हम टीचर. चूज फाइल. ओके फाइल मीन फाइल में कितना डम मैक्स हूँ. कोई बात नहीं. अपलोड. अच्छा नो फाइल चोजन. ओके प्लेस होल्डर है नहीं काम करता है. अपन कर देते हैं अपलोड ऐसे ही. ओपन है ना कुछ नहीं करता अपलोड.
Right here. So go ahead and solve this challenge right now, and then I will of course show you the solution when you return back to me.
हो गया. तुम्हारा चैलेंज 10 सेकंड के अंदर कंप्लीट कर दिया.
Okay, hopefully that went well.
अभी
Let's
इजी
do
है ना
this.
इसलिए.
The keywords I think are important here are HTML input, because we know we're looking for an HTML input tag. And then what is our intent? Well, it is to upload image files, and I think Google can handle this just by combining HTML input, upload image files. If we just paste that into Google, let's see what we get. And as you can see, when we search for that, we get a first hit from developer.mozilla.org. Let's click into that, and here you can see the title is input type equals file. And we get this little code snippet here. It also says input elements with type file. Let the user choose one or more files from their device storage. Sounds pretty good so far. Let's zoom in on the code here. And there you can see that they are actually using the profile picture example themselves. Choose a profile picture with this button, which looks suspiciously similar to what I just showed you a couple of minutes ago.
Okay, label use करना पड़ेगा इनमें. Okay. Upload. Okay, upload. Why chacha? Okay. ये भी चलेगा. करना तो चाहिए.
So I think we've found it. What we're looking for is type equals file. Let's add this up above the sign up button. Input type equals file, like that. If we run this code, yes, there we go. We get this button, which looks like exactly what we're looking for.
खेल चुका हूँ मैं जो बकवास गेम में. Let's
Okay,
build
now we're going to
Google.
move
Wow.
on from using Google to building Google. I mean, how cool is that? You've learned HTML for just about 30 minutes, and now you're going to build the most visited website in the world. That is just amazing. As you can see here on the similar web overview, Google is at the very top amongst the most visited websites in the world, beating sites like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Wikipedia, and all the way at 10th, a pornography site, of course. And by the way, it's a little bit sad to see that this adult site has almost 3 times the average visit duration of Wikipedia. So a pretty deep insight about humankind right there. Anyway, we are going to build google.com, and it'll look like this. However, now you're probably wondering, how can we make a page look like this? This doesn't look like regular HTML. And that is because I've cheated a little bit and added this line up here, which is a link tag to styles.css. And if you look at the file menu in the left-hand side, you can see that actually we have a file called styles.css, which contains exactly that. Cascading style sheets, which is the language for styling websites, and which you're going to learn all about a little bit later in this course. However, for now, I want you to completely ignore this. What you should do instead is just create the 4 HTML tags we need in order to create a google.com clone, and then this CSS will be pulled in and take care of styling the elements as they should be, so that it will look like this. And to give you a hint, this is an image file pointing to google.png, the file I've added here, and PNG is just a file format, just like JPEG. You can use it in the exact same way as we used JPEGs earlier on, so you should know how to do that. And this is an input field. You have to figure out what kind of type it is. I think you might have a clue. This is a button on the left-hand side, and this is also a button. So basically, it is these 4 tags you need to create.
बना दे रहे .html. ठीक है, इसको ओपन कर देते हैं. अब क्या करेंगे? पहले तो एक इमेज बनाते हैं ना. अपने पास स्टाइल शीट का है तो नहीं. पूरा वेब पेज होना चाहिए था मेरे को. क्रोम पे खोलो. इसकी CSS कहाँ से लाएंगे? चलो CSS फाड़ के लाते हैं. google.png कर लो डाउनलोड. चलो गिटहब देते हैं, बहुत अच्छी बात है. style.css भी कर लो डाउनलोड. सर्च करके अपन डेस्कटॉप YT सोर्स पेस्ट कर देंगे. लिंक कर लेते हैं. अब गूगल आ जाएगा. इसका रहता है इनपुट टेक्स्ट. हो गया. इसने CSS ऑटोमेटिकली मेंटेन कर लिए, ये अच्छी बात है ना. बटन गूगल सर्च.
Create in order to build a clone of the world's biggest website. So go ahead and do that. Start down here and ignore the line up here and then when you return back to me, I will of course show you the solution as well. Good luck.
कर लिया.
Okay, hopefully that went well. If not, no worries. Let's do it together. So, starting with the image tag for the Google logo, I'm going to do img like that. And it's a self-closing one, so I don't need a closing tag. But I need a source attribute, and it should point to the google.png file. So I'll just do google.png like that. And let's run this, and ooh, there we go. We got the logo. Okay, moving on. Let's do the input field, also a self-closing tag. Running the code, and there we go. We have a input field. Looking pretty good. Okay, next up, there's the two buttons. One saying Google search and one saying I'm feeling lucky. So I'm going to add both of these. Button, Google search, and then since I'm lazy, I'm going to copy it and do I'm feeling lucky, like that. Let's run this. And there we go. We have a Google clone with just 4 HTML elements. So if you did this, give yourself a pat on the back. It is fantastically well done. You should really be proud of yourself. And if you didn't manage to do it, just try it again, and I think you'll make it. At this point, it might be a good idea to take a little break and digest everything you've learned. And then when you are ready to continue, I will see you in the next scrim. Okay, now that you've built Google.com, you probably want to showcase your project on some kind of portfolio page. So let's pretend we're creating exactly that. Here we have the index.html page, the main page of our portfolio. And as you can see, it says Per Harold Borgen, developer, teacher, procrastinator. So a really good description of myself, though what it lacks is some kind of page or section which describes my on some kind of portfolio page. So let's pretend we're creating exactly that. Here we have the index.html page, the main page of our portfolio.
हाँ तो ठीक है फिर क्यों आ रहा है ये ऐड मैंने ब्लॉक कर दिया उसके बाद भी
I will see you in the next scrim.
हाँ चलो
Okay, now that you've built Google.com, you probably want to showcase your project on some kind of portfolio page. So let's pretend we're creating exactly that. Here we have the index.html page, the main page.
पोर्टफोलियो का मतलब बताओ जरा यार मुझे सब कुछ सारे अचीवमेंट बताने के लिए पोर्टफोलियो होता है.
Of our portfolio. And as you can see, it says Per Harold Borgen, developer, teacher, procrastinator. So a really good description of myself, though what it lacks is some kind of page or section which describes my projects. Though I have actually created the underlying page for exactly that over here on work.html. As you can see, this is a few tags that describes my google.com project. However, there's no way for the users to know this. The only way they can get to this page now is by actually typing work.html up in the browser here, and then it is rendered. We don't want that. Instead, we want some kind of link from the index page. That is this one that points towards the work.html. And in order for us to achieve that, you have to learn about anchor tags, aka links. An anchor tag is simply an HTML tag with an A. So let's open and close an anchor tag and write, for example, check out my projects here, like that. If we run this, it seemingly looks just like our paragraph, and we can't click it either. And that is because for anchor tags, you also have to provide it with an href attribute. That's short for hypertext reference. Really fancy, scary looking word right there. Don't worry about it. All this attribute does is decide where the link should point to. So if we do equal and then 2 quotes, we can inside the quotes simply write work.html. If we now run this, you can see that it renders as a link, and when we click it, boom, we're taken to the work.html page. Really nice. Now, another thing I want to show you with anchor tags is that you can nest them inside of other tags and actually inline in a text block. So let's say that we want to link to google.com from this site. Then we'll create a paragraph, which can say something like, check out the live demo here. And we only want the here word to be a clickable link. Well, then we'll simply wrap the anchor tag around here as well. And we'll close it before we close the paragraph. And then we'll do the href, paste in the URL to google.com. Now, this is a link that points to an external website, not to any of our pages. So if we run this, you can see that the link is now only over the here word. However, if I click this link now, the Scrimba mini browser will try to head over to google.com, and we only allow the mini browser to render Scrimba projects at the moment, so that won't work. Instead, what I'm going to do is make this link open in a new tab. And the way we do that is through a new attribute. So first, I'm just going to break this into a new line just to improve the readability a little bit. And then here, I'm going to write target equals underscore blank. Now that is a cryptic way of saying that you want the link to open up in a new tab, I know. But if we now run this, if you click on this link, what you'll see is that in your main browser, a new tab will be opened at the google.com homepage. So I'm not going to go deeper into why it's called target equals underscore blank, but this is the way to do it. I, of course, wish that HTML had a better solution for this. For example, new tab. Yes, that would have made a lot more sense to me. But this is how it is. You just have to accept it. Okay, that was a lot of talking from me. Now it's time for a challenge. I want you to create an anchor tag that links back to the index.html page, because if a user ends up on this page, they also need a way to get back to the main page. So create that link here, however you want, and then I will show you the solution when
अपन पूरे ही बनाएंगे तो बाद आने वाला आएगा तो लोग इसके अंदर जाओ ना तो बनेगा next .html और नींद आने लगी ठीक है लिंक बनाना है इसके लिए अपने पेज तो बना लेंगे work.html के वर्क में लिख लेंगे this is my work ठीक है तो कर लेंगे go back ओके अब वर्क पे लिंक करना है ना मेन चीज तो लिंक है जरूरी ये अपन लिख देंगे टू क्या है work.html ठीक है तो इसको कैसे करते हैं ये भी चलेगा ये भी चलेगा तो चलेगा फिर यहाँ पे आएगा बैक टू होम पेज फिर होम पेज है ना, फिर इंडेक्स, यहाँ पे जाएगा बैक टू होम पेज, बैक टू होम पेज, बैक टू होम पेज, लिंक चलने लगी चलो.
And you return back to me. Okay, hopefully that went well. Let's create this anchor tag. I'll wrap it inside of a paragraph and write turn to homepage, and then I'll simply wrap the homepage word in an anchor tag like that and point that anchor tag to index.html. If we run this, you can see return to homepage, and if we click that, we are back at the homepage. Great job, let's move on. Okay, we're back at our Google example here, and now I want you to add an anchor tag to the page, because sometimes you'll see that Google adds a little text underneath the buttons. For example, something about privacy, like we protect your privacy, then with a learn how link that you can click on to read more about that. So that is exactly what I want you to do.
Okay, करता हूँ. अपने गूगल एक्सरसाइज कौन थी? एक्सरसाइज 4, ठीक है. Okay. Correct. हाँ, ये नया टैब पे खोल रहा है.
I want you to add an anchor tag that points to blog.html. As you can see, I've added a blog.html file up here, and I want you to wrap the link inside of a paragraph tag. So just as it is here, you can see it's an entire paragraph here, but the anchor tag is only wrapping the second sentence. So go ahead and do that right now. Okay, hopefully that went well. Let's do it. We'll start with the paragraph, opening and closing tag, and then do we protect your privacy like that. And here we're going to add the anchor tag inline. So I'll do a, open and close, and do an href as well. Point it to blog.html, and the text should be learn how. Let's run this, and boom, there we go. We have added a nice little link here. If we want to learn more about Google privacy, then we can click this link. But not much to see here. Turns out that privacy probably isn't as important for a company who makes money by showing ads to users. Anyway, we can click on this link, return back to Google, and there we are. Great job solving this challenge. Let's move on.
Ding, 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 ding.
Hello, who is speaking? React, Redux, Node.js. अगर सीखना है तो तैयार हो जाओ.
Okay, now we're going to talk about how to structure HTML documents, because the structure we have here isn't actually
चलो आज के लिए बहुत